Hello, everyone. This is Bible Perspective. I am Brother Ryan Bolin. Thank you all for joining me. This is a channel where we analyze current events from a biblical and prophetic point of view. I want to say first and foremost, I can apologize. I've been gone for quite some time, and I've had to catch up with a lot of different things. I've been really, really busy. My hands have been tied, but nevertheless, I'm going to go forward. And what I want to talk about in this video is a topic that, once again, I don't like really talking about because it's dealing with politics. But I said this in my last video. We have to understand that the spiritual realm influences all areas of life, not just the church, but it also influences politics. It also influences entertainment. It also influences education. Every area in our secular world has a spiritual component to it. So we have to realize that and understand that. And once again, this channel does analyze current events from a biblical and prophetic point of view. So current events deals with politics. Current events deals with the entertainment industry or pop culture. Current events deals with the educational institutions. All of those things deal with current events. So they have to be covered. See, in my church, the local church where I attend, I was told specifically that we cannot discuss politics in the church because the last time we had the discussion, there was some major upheaval there. Not what I mean by major maybe I shouldn't say major upheaval. There was some tension there because, different people vote for different different political factions, and some people were offended by that. And I can understand that. But here, that's not the case. Now, let me point something else out here. This is not an attack against any particular political party, whether one be Democrat or whether one be Republican. It's not an attack against any political party in particular, because the reality of the matter is that both political parties, particularly after the 1960s, have been corrupted, okay? Both the Republican Party and Democratic Party have been infiltrated and corrupted, okay? Because let's be quiet as it may be kept. When the Democratic Party creates a policy that may be non-Christian, okay, or non-biblical, the Republican Party doesn't do much of anything to repeal it or change it. So what's really, and vice versa. So what's really the big, in other words, both of them are corrupt in many ways. So this is not an attack against any one particular party, political party. This is an attack against policies and principles that are being pushed by politics, and policies and principles that are anti-Bible and anti-Christian, and that are causing many true born-again believers in this country to be at a loss, basically, to be, powerless. And that shouldn't be the case. Every now and then we need to speak up and say what we believe in and what we don't believe in, okay? There's nothing wrong with that. You're not doing anything wrong. This is America. You have freedom of religion. And if you have freedom of religion, then that means that the government, in part, cannot impose things on you as a Christian that you feel and believe from a biblical perspective is not godly. Now, what am I talking about in this video? I'm talking about a mandate that was created by the administration that essentially says that if a individual, and you can read the article in the description box below, but I'm just going to summarize this here, okay? Because I don't need to read it, because you can read the article in the description box from the Christian Post website if you so desire. But I'm not going to read any of that because it's pretty straightforward. So I'm just going to explain it to you. Accordingly, the Biden administration has basically tried to push this concept upon certain groups of Christians, I think in South Carolina, something like that. Like I said, you can read the article in the description box below, that essentially says that regardless of whether or not you are a Christian working in a hospital, okay, you have to adhere to the idea of what they call it healthcare, right? They just call it healthcare, but really it's all about what term do they use to describe it? It's a term that's used to describe it. I'm trying to be proper with this. Gender affirmation is what it is. Essentially, these Christians in these hospitals, you have to adhere to gender affirmation or gender care with gender where, if a man believes that he's a female or if a female believes that she's a male, and they want their bodies to be changed to suit what they're feeling, that doctor, that medical professional, regardless of their Christian faith, has to perform that surgery on them. But if you read the article states that there was that law was rejected because of a particular Christian group that fought for the rights of these Christians who were in the medical field, that felt it was wrong for the government to try to mandate to them to do something that they did not believe in. And the bottom line is this: as Christians, every now and then, we're going to have to speak up. We're going to have to stand for certain things that we believe in. Now, this is the part that kind of is disturbing. I kind of understand why Christians do it, but it's disturbing. And that is this. They'll say, well, that's politics. We as Christians should keep out of politics. We should have nothing to say about politics. We shouldn't rah for this candidate that's running or rah for that candidate that's running in the church per se. Now, outside the church building, you can rah, you can root for whatever candidate you want to be the next governor, the next mayor, or the next president. Okay. But in the church, you shouldn't talk about it. In the church, you shouldn't talk about politics. You can talk about everything else, the entertainment industry and all that, but you can't talk about politics. Okay. I kind of get it because it's a sensitive area. However, the problem with that worldview, okay, is that a significant number of policies are being put in place on the local, state, and federal level that is designed to suppress and shut the mouths of Christians, period. Politicians will say this: we don't want you Christians saying anything about what we do, the policies we create, on any of that. We don't want you saying anything about that. Okay, this is what politicians will say: separation of church and state. That's what they'll scream all the time. Separation of church and state. Separation of church and state. Separation of church and state. Yet when it comes time to campaign, okay, what are the main people that they try to reach? Both political parties do this. But what is the main institution they try to reach to get votes? The church. And I have seen politicians standing in pulpits. I'm not going to say who these politicians were. Standing in church pulpits talking about this political party and how evil that political party is and how evil this person is in the church pulpit, and suggesting to the parishioners, the leaders, and the individual members in that local church not to vote for this particular person or this particular party. Here's a person that basically, for the most part, rejects the God of the Bible or twists the interpretation thereof in the church, in the pulpit, telling you and others who to vote for and not to vote for. But yet at the same time, when a Christian speaks out against certain policies that are being created or pushed by politicians, shut your mouth. It's the separation of church and state. You ain't supposed to be saying anything. As a church, we got to wake up to that. That's a trick from the pits of hell. You might not support and get up here and have signs telling rah to this group, rah to that group. But every now and then, things need to be exposed that's happening politically, whether it's local, state, or federal. Certain policies that are being pushed and put in place that are specifically designed to shut the mouths of the church. And eventually, if enough believers don't speak up, they're going to come into church and start pulling preachers out of the church, pulling pastors out of the pulpit, pulling Christians out of the pews and persecuting them in the street. You say, Mr. Bolin, that's Brother Bolin, that's kind of extreme. No, it's not if you study history. In many of the communist countries, Cuba, Russia, China, and others, where communism, okay, quiet as it may be kept, was a major, major issue back then, and it is today. It's just in a different form. It's a non-violent form now. Back then, prior to the 60s, it was in violent form. Okay. One of their goals was to destroy the church. And the reason for that was because the church's belief systems and their worldviews was detrimental to the worldviews and belief systems of the communists. The communists, for one, were atheists, or they pushed the idea of being atheists. Okay. And they wanted the people to look to the state or the government as God. Well, Christianity taught completely opposite, right? Belief in God and worship of God. Communists didn't want that, among other things. So what did they do? One of their goals was to attack and destroy Christianity. This happened in China. This happened in Cuba. This happened in Russia and other communist countries. And they would go in these churches and take the priests out and line the priests up and shoot them, kill them. I know that's graphic. I know that's rough, but that's the reality. Now, you may ask, well, Mr. Boland, how could that be right now in 2024 America? How could that be? Because this form of political ideology known as communism is taking on a different form now. Okay, it's taking on a non-violent, quiet form of permeation. It is a tool of Satan. Okay, to get into the churches, to get into politics, to get into films, to get into the entertainment industry, everything, music, and push a ideology that affects the mind, that changes the minds of the people, that changes their attitude. Next thing you know, we're accepting laws and policies that are totally unbiblical. And we wonder how we get here. We got here because the enemy, Satan, the spiritual forces of hell, created an ideology, communism and socialism and Marxism, as a way to infiltrate the societies and communities in a quiet, non-violent form. It is a tool of Satan. And he's doing the same thing with these politicians, local, state, and federal. So don't be fooled when these politicians tell you, well, y'all church and Christians need to stop talking all this stuff. Stop talking about this. Stop talking about that. It's politics. Keep us out of it. Keep politics out your mouth. At the same time, they're telling you and I to don't say anything, not to say anything about what they're doing and the policies and laws they're creating. They're telling you and I to keep quiet about it. At the same time, they're creeping in the backyard through infiltration and coming through the back door and creating policies and worldviews that are detrimental to the church. Every now and then, we have to speak out. And here's a situation here where this organization that has assisted, it was a Christian organization that assisted these Christian medical professionals, that we do not have to do this. This is against our belief system. See, because the Biden administration, and I've mentioned the Biden administration up front, because it's under his administration this type of stuff is being pushed. I'm not mentioning it because he's Democrat. That ain't what it is. I'm mentioning it because his administration is what's pushing this. It's under the Biden administration. And if Christians on certain occasions don't expose what is going on, this will happen. Eventually, they're going to round you up. They're going to round us up and put us in concentration camps to be taken out of here, either brainwashed or taken out of here. Now, I don't think that's what anyone wants in America. I don't think that's what anyone wants. But just sitting back passively and saying, well, I don't have to say nothing. I'm going to do nothing. It's the will of God. No, it's not the will of God. It is not the will of God for us to sit back quietly. It is his will for us to expose evil on whatever level, whether it's on the political level, whether it's in the religious level, whether it's in educational level, whether it's in the entertainment industry, whether it's in the church. We are to expose evil, as well as tell people who they are in Christ and the benefits and privileges that come with being a born-again believer. You got the Spirit of God living in you. You're seated in heavenly places in Christ Jesus. All of those benefits we are supposed to inform believers of. But we also have a responsibility to expose evil when we see it. We don't have to be in the White House to do it. We don't have to be in the city council to do it. We don't have to be in the state council to do it. All we have to do is see it and say, okay, that's wrong, that's evil, And tell the parishioners, tell the members before you go and cast your vote in something that is going to kill you and everybody else in a spiritual way and eventually physically. So we got to keep that in mind. We have to keep that in mind. But I just wanted to bring that out to expose that this is a victory here that's been won. And that's a good thing. That's a blessing. So what do you guys think? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel. God bless you all and see you again.